Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and really get to the heart of topics that matter.
Absolutely.
Today, we're plunging into something pretty complex, but honestly incredibly important in medicine. Chronic hepatitis B. You might hear it called CHB.
It's a huge global issue.
Huge is right. Nearly 300 million people around the world are living with this. And, it's not just a diagnosis. It's a chronic condition. It can have really severe consequences down the line.
And the shocking part.
Yeah, the shocking part is only about 5%, maybe even less, of those people are actually getting treatment.
That statistic really highlights the gap, the unmet need we're dealing with.
Definitely. So our mission today is to explore a very promising new player, an investigational drug called Bepirovirsen. Could it actually change things?
That's the hope.
Mm-hmm.
We'll look at its potential, how it works deep down at the molecular level.
And what the latest research, the trials, are telling us about its role in fighting CHB. We've sifted through a lot of material, clinical trial results, scientific papers, industry stuff, even what the community is saying.
And distill it all down for you.
Exactly, to get you up to speed quickly. So let's dive in.
Okay.
Okay, so let's unpack this first. Hepatitis B, it's a major global health problem, primarily because it's this persistent viral infection, right? And it goes straight for the liver.
That's its target. And chronic basically means your immune system hasn't managed to kick the virus out within about 6 months of infection. It just sticks around.
And how does it spread? I mean, people hear hepatitis B, they might get worried.
Right. It's mainly through infected blood or other body fluids. So think contaminated needles, maybe blood transfusions years ago before screening got really good, or sexual transmission.
And symptoms.
Yeah.
Can people tell they have it?
Sometimes, but not always. Common things can be feeling really tired, maybe some pain in the upper stomach area, nausea, sometimes skin rashes like hives, and of course the classic yellowing of the skin and eyes jaundice. But many people have no symptoms for years.
Which makes diagnosis tricky.
Exactly. And the global burden, it's just staggering. The WHO, they estimated for 2022, something like 1.2 million new infections.
Wow.
And 1.1 million deaths globally, mostly from the long-term damage.
Like liver damage.
Severe liver damage, yeah. We're talking cirrhosis, scarring of the liver, and liver cancer, hepatocellular carcinoma, or HCC. It's estimated maybe 20–25% of people with chronic Hep B develop this kind of progressive liver disease.
And going back to that number, nearly 300 million people affected worldwide.
Yet only about 10% even know they have it diagnosed.
And the 5% getting treatment, it's just stark.
It really is. Now, the current first-line treatments, they're mainly antiviral drugs. You might hear them called nucleoside analogs, or NAs.
Right.
Drugs like tenofovir, entecavir.
And they do work, right, to some extent.
Oh, yes. They're quite effective at stopping the hepatitis B virus from making copies of itself. They suppress replication. You see HBV DNA levels in the blood go down, which is really important.
Okay, but there's a but coming, I feel.
There is. Because this brings us to a really critical distinction. It's the difference between just suppressing the virus, keeping it quiet, and achieving what we call a functional cure.
Functional cure. That sounds like the real goal.
That is the goal. Essentially, it means the virus DNA becomes undetectable in your blood, and this is the crucial part. You have a sustained loss of something called hepatitis B surface antigen, HBsAg.
HBsAg, that's the marker they look for.
It's a key protein the virus makes, indicates ongoing infection. If you lose HBsAg and it stays gone, ideally, you could potentially control the infection without needing medication for life.
Lifelong medication. That's the current reality for many.
For most on NAs, yes. Because while these drugs are great at suppressing the DNA, they have very little effect on those HBsAg levels. So the actual functional cure rates with the treatments we have now, they're disappointingly low. We're talking maybe 2% to 8% of patients, tops.
So a huge gap. We need something that actually tackles that HBsAg directly.
Precisely. A massive unmet need for therapies that can lower and clear HBsAg, giving people a real shot at being free from that daily pill, that constant reminder.
Okay, so this is where the story really gets interesting then. Researchers are definitely working on this, developing new ways to hit that HBsAg target. And Bepirovirsen seems to be, well, leading the charge.
It's certainly one of the most advanced in development, yes. It's an investigational drug originally discovered by Ionis Pharmaceuticals, GSK, GlaxoSmithKline, licensed it back in August 2019 and are developing it further.
And what is it exactly? You hear these complicated names.
It's classified as an antisense oligonucleotide. an ASO.
Right, that's a bit of a mouthful.
It is, but think of it like this. It's a synthetic, custom-designed piece of genetic material, like a smart little molecule, and it's designed to very specifically target the genetic instructions of the hepatitis B virus. It has this sort of combined approach that's quite powerful.
Combined how?
Well, first, it finds and basically destroys all the different types of hepatitis B virus RNA inside infected liver cells, the hepatocytes. That includes the messenger RNA and the pregenomic RNA.
Those are the blueprints the virus uses.
Exactly, the instructions it needs to make more copies of itself and to produce those viral proteins, including HBsAg. So Bepirovirsen shreds the blueprints.
Got it, so it stops replication.
Directly inhibits viral DNA replication that way, yes.
Yeah.
And second, because it stops the production line, it directly suppresses the levels of that key protein, HBsAg, that we see in the blood.
Okay, hitting replication and the surface antigen.
But there's a third aspect, which is particularly innovative. Bepirovirsen seems to also stimulate the immune system. It does this through something called toll-like receptor 8, or TLR8.
Stimulating the immune system, how does that help?
Well, it might actually help your body's own defenses recognize and clear out the infected liver cells more effectively, potentially leading to a more durable, long-lasting response, even after treatment stops.
So it's like a cleanup crew that not only takes out the trash, but also alerts the security guards.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually. It goes into the infected cells, dismantles the virus's copying instructions, and flags the problem to the immune system to help finish the job. It's attacking the virus on multiple fronts.
Okay, so connecting this mechanism to the bigger picture, the early clinical trials must have been focused on seeing if it actually does reduce HBsAg, right? Since that's the key.
Absolutely, that was a primary goal. And the initial studies have given us some crucial insights.
What have they shown?
Well, a key one was the BeClear study. There was a phase IB trial, pretty decent size, 457 adults with chronic Hep B.
And the results?
They were definitely encouraging. For patients who got Bepirovirsen at a dose of 300 milligrams once a week for 24 weeks, about 9 to 10% of them achieved sustained loss of both HBsAg and HBV DNA.
9 to 10%. Now, you said current rates are like 2 to 8%, so that's better, certainly.
It's a meaningful improvement, yes. And remember, this is targeting HBsAg directly. An earlier, smaller phase 2 study with just 31 patients actually showed a clear dose-dependent effect.
Meaning more drug led to more reduction.
Exactly. In patients who hadn't had treatment before, the 300 milligram dose group saw a significant drop in HBsAg, about 1.56 log 10 units, and also in HBV DNA after only 4 weeks, compared to placebo.
4 weeks? That's quite fast.
It suggests a rapid onset of action. Now, it's important to note they saw HBsAg reductions in different types of patients, what we call HBsAg positive and negative.
Okay.
But the reductions tended to be greater in the HBsAg negative patients, especially those who started with lower levels of HBsAg to begin with. In fact, in that smaller study, all 4 patients who actually got to undetectable HBsAg levels were HBsAg negative.
Interesting. So maybe it works better for certain patient groups.
That's something the larger phase 3 trials are designed to clarify. But overall, the response was rapid, sometimes prolonged after stopping treatment. Though how long it lasted, the durability, was a bit variable between patients. Still, very promising for an HBsAg targeting approach.
That makes sense. Okay, what about safety? Any concerns there?
Generally, Bepirovirsen showed an acceptable safety and tolerability profile in these studies. Most side effects were mild to moderate.
Like what kind of things?
The most common ones were things like reactions at the injection site, bruising, redness, maybe some pain or itching. Also, some people experience fever, pyrexia, or fatigue. Pretty typical for this type of drug.
Okay, sounds manageable. But I remember reading something. There was this detail about increased ALT levels in some patients. Now, normally ALT going up makes doctors worry about the liver, doesn't it?
That's a really key point, and you're right to flag it. Ordinarily, elevated ALT, alanine, and aminotransferase would definitely be a concern, a potential sign of liver inflammation or damage.
So what was going on here?
Well, what was interesting with Bepirovirsen is that these ALT increases were often temporary, they were transient, and they resolved on their own without needing intervention.
Okay.
And the data strongly suggested that these weren't necessarily a sign of the drug being toxic to the liver. Instead, they seemed to be what we call a pharmacological response, tied to the drug actually working.
How so? What's the connection?
They found that the HBsAg levels started dropping before or right around the same time the ALT levels went up. And perhaps even more telling, patients who had larger increases in their ALT levels often had greater reductions in their HBsAg.
Huh. So the liver enzyme spike was linked to the virus marker going down.
Exactly. The thinking is that this ALT flare, as it's sometimes called, might actually represent the immune system getting activated possibly by the drug's TLR8 effect we mentioned and starting to clear out the liver cells that are infected and producing all that HBs-AC.
Ah, so it's the immune system doing its job, clearing out infected cells, and that causes a temporary bump in ALT rather than the drug directly harming healthy liver cells.
That appears to be the most likely explanation based on the data. It's seen as potentially a positive sign that the body is mounting an effective response against the virus as its levels drop, a sign of immune clearance.
That's fascinating. Almost counterintuitive, but makes sense if it's immune-mediated. So given these results, promising efficacy, manageable safety, even this interesting ALT signal, where are we now with Bepirovirsen? What's the latest?
Things are definitely moving forward.
I saw something about the FDA.
Yes. Just earlier this year, February 2024, Bepirovirsen was granted fast-track designation by the U.S. FDA.
And fast track means?
It's given to drugs being developed for serious conditions that fill an unmet medical need, which CHB certainly does. It basically means the FDA will work more closely with the company to facilitate development and potentially speed up the review process once the final data is submitted. It's a positive signal.
Good news. And the trials. Are they still ongoing?
Absolutely. It's now in large-scale Phase 3 clinical trials. This is the crucial stage before potential approval. The program is called BeWell, and it includes two main trials, BeWell 1 and BeWell 2. They're actively recruiting patients right now.
When might we see results from those?
The estimated primary completion dates are currently around November 2025, so still a little way off, but progressing. There's also another study called BeSure.
BeSure.
Yeah, that one's following patients from the earlier trials long-term, really looking at the durability of the response. And critically, it's exploring criteria for when patients might be able to safely stop their background NA therapy. That's a key question.
Being able to stop other meds, that would be huge.
It would. And looking even further ahead, there's talk of Bepirovirsen potentially becoming a sort of backbone therapy, something used in combination or sequence with other drugs to push those functional cure rates even higher for more patients.
Right, because it's probably not the only thing being worked on, is it?
Oh, definitely not. Bepirovirsen is exciting, particularly for its direct HbS-Ag reduction, but the whole CHB research landscape is very active right now. It's not happening in a vacuum.
What else is out there?
Well, there's a lot of buzz around therapeutic vaccines, trying to train the immune system differently. There are also other types of RNA-targeting drugs, like small interfering RNAs, Cernaris, similar concept to ASOs, like Bepirovirsen, but a slightly different technology.
Okay.
And another class called nucleic acid polymers, or NAPs, which have also shown promise in reducing HbS-Ag, especially when combined with existing drugs, and potentially stimulating the immune system, too.
So lots of different angles trying to crack this nut.
Exactly. And it's important to remember, drug development is complex. It takes time. There are setbacks. Discussions in the patient community often highlight the challenges, like maybe some therapeutic vaccines won't work as well if HbS-Ag levels are super high initially.
So you might need a combination. Use something like Bepirovirsen or Cerna first to knock down the HbS-Ag, then come in with a vaccine.
That kind of sequential or combination strategy is definitely being explored. It just underscores that finding a cure is tough. It might require multiple approaches, but the dedication from researchers and companies is absolutely there.
Okay, so let's bring it back. What does all this mean for you listening out there? Especially if chronic hepatitis B is something that affects you or someone you care about. It really does sound like there's genuine reason for hope, doesn't it?
I think so. Bepirovirsen really represents a significant step forward. We're moving beyond just keeping the virus suppressed.
Towards potentially achieving that functional cure, that sustained control off medication.
Exactly. Its unique way of working, that antisense mechanism and these promising early results, especially hitting HbS directly and maybe waking up the immune system, they offer real hope. Hope for a future where lifelong daily pills might not be the only option.
It could fundamentally change the outlook for millions.
It really could.
So, here's a final thought to leave you with. Just consider the impact. A treatment for chronic Hep B that you only need for a finite time that leads to a functional cure. Think about what that means for individuals' freedom from daily meds, significantly lower risk of devastating liver disease and cancer.
And the impact on the global scale, too, reducing that massive burden.
Absolutely. And maybe take it one step further. What other chronic diseases, things that currently need lifelong management, might one day benefit from these kinds of targeted, potentially transformative therapies? Food for thought.
Definitely something to ponder.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive today.